The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we think it's criminalize our marijuana.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
All right, good day, Tokers and Tokettes, and welcome. It is finally Friday, January 18th, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Welcome to the show. All sorts of great stuff to get to on today's show, including our guest today, joining us for, it's been a month or two since we talked to him last. Steve Bloom from CelebStoner.com will be on the show today, bringing us latest in celebrity entertainment news with respect to cannabis. I also think he's got an update for us in cannabis journalism activism with his latest updates on what's happening with Toke of the Town author Steve Elliott. We'll get to that at 1:30. Also on today's show, we have time for a little radical rant. I had the opportunity this morning to speak with Paul Armentano, probably the leading researcher and expert on marijuana and driving and the psychopharmacology of cannabis, THC, and so forth. And he forwarded to me this very interesting study. We're going to take a look at it in the radical rant today. It's basically a study where they took 13 heavy marijuana users and subjected them to massive doses of oral THC. That would be Marinol pills. You'll be amazed at the results they got out of this, or maybe not so amazed. You might have seen it coming like I did. Anyway, we'll get to that at 45 past. On today's show as well, it's time for our daily Toker tunes for Rockin' Friday. Herb Thrasher will be calling in at 20 after, and we've got a special prize giveaway from Slightly Stupid. We're giving away 3 prize packs. Each prize pack contains 5 items, including a CD, a sticker, a magnet, a lighter, and a beer cozy. So stay tuned at 20 after for the secret word you need and the methods you'll need to be able to enter this contest and win some free Slightly Stupid swag, including their new CD, Top of the World, which is out now. We'll be playing the song Top of the World from that CD for our Daily Toker tunes today. Also, we're going to go behind the headlines. This Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I normally would take the day off, but we are going to have a show on Monday because on Monday, we launch smartapproaches.com, the satirical answer to Project Sam and Patrick Kennedy and Kevin Sabet and David Frum and all those guys who think you need to be forced into rehab simply because you use marijuana. In Behind the Headlines, we'll talk about it. Amanda Ryman's got an excellent piece on Huffington Post that echoes a lot of what we say on smartapproaches.com. And we've got our 420 radio news headlines coming up right after this first break, including stories about Albany, New York, West Virginia, Iowa. We're legalizing everywhere, people.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Cast your eyes up to the skies. What is it to live and die?
California is the center of marijuana consciousness. That's why High Times Magazine is returning to the Golden State for our second High Times Medical Cannabis Cup in Los Angeles. That's right. Come to LA Center Studios on February 16th and 17th for this high-flying event. Meet the medical cannabis industry, visit our extra special medicating area, and sample the best cannabis products of Southern California. There'll be cultivation seminars and presentations about getting pot legalized, not just in California, but everywhere. Be there on Saturday evening when we host a Rock'em Sock'em concert with surprise musical guests. And don't forget Sunday night and the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup Awards when we honor the best sativa, best indica, best hybrid, best concentrate, and best edibles of the LA medical cannabis scene. Plus, we present the High Times Lifetime Achievement Award to marijuana superstar Tommy Chong. Come to the City of the Angels on February 16th and 17th for a High Times cannabis celebration. Go to medcancup.com for details. Live the high life. Be proud of who you are. Be part of the growing cannabis community.
I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Smells like a skunk. Do you want to legalize it? Call your congressman today. 202-224-3121. It's free, it's easy, and you don't even have to give your name, just your zip code, and they'll hook you up to your congressman. Call 202-224-3121 and tell Congress you support marijuana legalization.
Liberate your mind. Liberate your mind. Liberate your mind. Liberate your mind. That's what you got to do. Liberate your mind.
Now it's time for our 420 radio news for Friday, January 18th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Jefferson Parish deputy made $50,000 selling synthetic marijuana, the sheriff's office says. This from NOLA.com. A Jefferson Parish, Louisiana deputy sheriff made $50,000 to $80,000 through online sales of synthetic marijuana, a sheriff's office spokesman said Friday. Scott Seiger, age 35, has been fired, and the sheriff's office plans to notify prosecutors and tax collectors of what it considers both an illegal and unlicensed business, Colonel John Fortunato said. Seiger, hired in 2007, was most recently assigned to the 1st District Patrol Division in East Jefferson. The sheriff's office had 2 tips about him, that he was selling conventional marijuana and, through an online business, synthetic marijuana, Fortunato said. Search warrants executed at his home, on his personal vehicle, and his sheriff's office car turned up no criminal evidence. But authorities said further investigation showed he was selling a substance called JWH-018, marketed as herbal incense, after Louisiana outlawed that form of synthetic marijuana in 2010. Fortunato said, quote, he was actually packaging and mailing off herbal incense with the assistance of a neighbor who lives across the street, end quote. A majority of West Virginia voters support legalizing marijuana for medicine. This from WBOY. A poll shows West Virginia voters would support legalizing marijuana for medicinal purposes. The Marijuana Policy Project survey shows 53% of West Virginians support it, while 40% do not. A West Virginia University professor of clinical pharmacy said 18 states have legalized marijuana already for medicinal purposes and said the FDA has approved 2 oral medications. Dr. Charles Ponte, professor of clinical pharmacy at WVU, said, quote, the wheels are turning slowly, and I think they're going to continue to. Why? Because of the baggage marijuana has from a medical legal standpoint that's been attached to the drug for decades. California Supreme Court rejects medical marijuana case. This from KFMB, CBS8.com. A legal victory for a local medical marijuana advocate could have a major impact on sales and distribution across the state. The Supreme Court of California has refused to take up a case involving a San Diego man. Jovan Jackson was convicted of possessing and selling medical marijuana. The ruling could now give operators a defense from prosecution in San Diego and statewide. Jackson's conviction was overturned last year when a court ruled that he should have been allowed to argue that his conduct was legal under state law. Jackson's case can now be retried or dropped. Iowa House to consider medical marijuana bill from hightimes.com. Will Iowa become the next state to approve medical marijuana? State Representative Bryce Hunter, Democrat of Des Moines, introduced a bill this week that would make the use of marijuana legal for those suffering from certain medical conditions or conditions causing intractable pain. If approved, the bill would create nonprofit dispensaries that would grow and sell the medical marijuana and related supplies. The prevailing thought is that the bill will not pass. Representative Hunter is in the minority, and House Speaker Craig Paulson, Republican of Hiawatha, indicated he would not pursue medical pot. Nevertheless, a poll from 2010 reported that 64% of Iowans supported medical marijuana. Additionally, the Iowa Board of Pharmacy voted unanimously that same year to recognize the medical value of cannabis. Multiple new marijuana proposals waft toward Albany. This from Politicker.com. One of the initiatives Governor Andrew Cuomo outlined in his State of the State address last week was a policy to decriminalize the possession of 15 grams or less of marijuana in public view. Under current laws, possession of 25 grams or less of marijuana generally does not result in jail time, as it is not openly displayed. But having even small amounts of the drug can result in an arrest if it is exposed to the public. This public view distinction has drawn the ire of critics who argue that, particularly when combined with the NYPD's controversial stop and frisk policy, it results in unneeded arrests when people are arrested for displaying marijuana after complying with police officers' requests to reveal the contents of their pockets during searches. Also, Senator Dianne Savino said she is focused on medical marijuana. She believes she has secured enough votes for her medical marijuana bill to pass in the Senate. Democratic Assemblyman Richard Gottfried is drafting similar legislation in the Assembly, which is controlled by his party. He believes he has enough votes to pass as well. And that's your 420 radio news for today, Friday, January 18th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we're going to go behind the headlines and take a look at the launch of smartapproaches.com. You're listening to 420radio.org. This is the Russ Belville Show, and we'll be right back after these messages.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Listening to 420radio.org. Get a little fiery.
Hey, sit back, relax, and have a puff or two. 'Cause all we really trying to do is get high with you. That's just how we do. Sit back, relax, and have a puff or two. 'Cause all we really trying to do is get high with you. That's just how we do.
Welcome back, everyone. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And for today, I'm very excited. I've been working the past couple weeks on smartapproaches.com, and we're going to be launching the site on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. If you go to the site right now, it's just got a, coming soon banner. I've actually fixed it a little bit. Since Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I took some quotes from the letter from a Birmingham jail and pasted them in the coming soon. And it actually quite appropriate. The quotes that I put in there have to do with disobeying unjust laws and pointing out how if a majority writes a law that they compel a minority to follow, but they don't follow themselves, then it's an unjust law. And when we look at the arrest rates and the prosecution and the treatment of poor white and minority pot smokers versus well-connected white marijuana smokers in, urban settings and suburban settings, it's obviously an unjust law. We're going to launch smartapproaches.com on Monday, so we'll have a show on Monday as well. It's basically a page-for-page, link-for-link rebuttal of everything they've got on their website. And their website is called Learn About Sam. Because if you were going to form a group called Smart Approaches to Marijuana, you'd pick Learn About Sam as your web domain. I was actually quite shocked when this got launched, and I went out and I looked for smartapproaches.com on GoDaddy, and it was still there. I was stunned because, of course, Kevin Sabet got spoofed on question 3, the Massachusetts medical marijuana election. He formed a PAC called Vote No on Question 3, and, of course, I think it was Mike Can snapped up votenooonquestion3.org and made a wonderful spoof website. You can find it by going to spoof.votenooonquestion3.org. And it's still up there. It's hilarious. Like, the Mayans predicted the world would end in 2012 because of marijuana and so forth. So in that same vein, I've taken and made smartapproaches.com, which mocks and satirizes just about everything they say. But it does it in a completely accurate and well hyperlinked and footnoted way. Everything we put on this site, I've got a link to the study, a link to the report, a link to the scientists, whatever it might be that shows you the BS they're spewing is just that, BS. Well, before my launch of this, I, today getting the show ready, and I found this article from Amanda Ryman. She's a policy manager at the Drug Policy Alliance, DPA, drugpolicy.org. And she's been a guest on the show before. I've seen her speak at a number of conferences. She's brilliant. And she studies addiction and addiction sciences. And like me, she's very concerned for people who actually have addiction problems. So she is writing, she's got an article called Reefer Madness Redo. If you smoke it, you will become addicted. And she's basically calling out Project Sam. Let me just read to you from her paragraphs on this. Recently, former Rhode Island Congressman Patrick Kennedy announced the formation of a new group, SAM, which stands for A Smarter Approach to Marijuana. Kennedy and his group recognize the argument that jail for marijuana is no longer salient with today's population. So they've repackaged the message for a new generation. Marijuana use is a mental illness and requires treatment every time. This sentiment is echoed in his group's project list, which includes increased funding for mental health courts and treatment of drug dependency so those caught using marijuana might avoid incarceration, get help, and potentially have their criminal records cleared. On the face, this statement is not so outrageous, but upon a closer look, it is frightening for 2 reasons. First, although increased funding for mental health services and substance abuse treatment can be beneficial, according to a 2008 report, 90% of those who currently need substance abuse treatment do not receive it. 90%. 9 out of 10 people addicted who need substance abuse treatment don't get it. This compares to 24% of diabetes patients who do not receive treatment. It is estimated that 23 million people need addiction care and only 2.3 million receive it. Forcing marijuana consumers into an already overloaded system will reduce the likelihood of care for those with serious life-threatening addictions, Ryman writes. Furthermore, since approximately 37% of treatment referrals come from the criminal justice system, initiating a pipeline from the courtroom to treatment will result in a tidal wave of first-time young marijuana offenders entering substance abuse treatment to trade the label of criminal for addict. Secondly, Kennedy's group refers to treatment for those caught with marijuana. This implies that, under his plan, the U.S. will continue to seek out marijuana users, presumably via law enforcement. Or perhaps Kennedy will institute a special marijuana task force charged with roaming the country in search of marijuana addicts. Whatever the case, Sam's plan involves the active identification of marijuana consumers followed by forced involvement in the system. Don't be fooled. This is not a new way for marijuana, but rather a regressive old approach dressed in new clothes. That's Amanda Ryman writing in the Huffington Post. I'll post that link in our chat room here if you'd like to take a look at that, because it's definitely worth a full read on that one. And thank you, Amanda. We're sending the press release out to her on our Smart Approaches. Maybe she'll be a writer for it sometime. We don't know. But make sure you check that out. Spread the word to all your friends about smartapproaches.com coming this Monday. We want to make sure it gets more hits than their website gets. Brian, what time is it?
I don't know. I thought you were leading into something with the more hits.
Funny you say that.
There, but
it's 20 after in Denver, Colorado. We'll be right back.
Get to it.
Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Where did you get this?
What?
Where did this come from?
It's not mine,
Your
Dad.
mother found this in your closet. Where did it come from?
It's not mine, Dad.
Who taught you how to do this?
You, alright? I learned from watching you.
Oh, no. Don't put this on me. This is crap. What are you smoking this for? This is dirt.
I'm sorry.
No, listen. You see this? This is AK-47. Afghan Kush. From Afghanistan. Smell it.
Damn.
Yeah, look at the trichomes in there. Stop smoking crap. Marijuana may grow in the ground, but I assure you the money does not.
I like it like that.
Well, I don't know what you came to do, but what we came to keep the funk alive.
That's right, baby. We're keeping the funk alive right here at Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Ring, your groovy home of soul, funk, and disco. So join me, Big Daddy, every Thursday night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific at the Funky Roller Ring, where every night is Saturday night.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're strapped in and loaded up because Herb Thrasher is here, and he's made of metal and marijuana. How you doing, Herb?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, man. Having a great week so far. Hope everyone else is, too.
Yeah. Hey, we got a big giveaway going on that has to do with today's Rockin' Daily Toker Tune. So let's tell little people about Slightly Stupid and what's going on here.
Yeah, so Slightly Stupid, who have definitely been champions in our movement ever since the beginning. This band is they started in the mid '90s there with Sublime. They were big buddies and kind of changed through the years. But one thing they've never changed is their love for freedom and their love for the herb. And so they are on a winter tour right now. They have a brand new album out that released last August. It's called Top of the World. And they're on a winter tour right now. And in fact, they're in Chico, California tonight, and in Eugene tomorrow night. And then Sunday night here in Portland, they are at the Crystal Ballroom. And so we're excited to welcome them to Portland, and just been working with them for the last year and a half, and was glad they came, and so they sent us some packaging stuff, and we're just going to try to support them, and hope some of you guys have tickets to go to some of their shows.
Right on, right on. Well, we got 3 ways people can win. The first way, if you listen tonight on the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour, and you call in after we tell you to call in, we'll take the 4th caller who tells us the secret code words, and the secret code words are smart approaches. So if you call in tonight after 8, when we tell you to, if you're the 4th caller, you win one of these prize packs that includes the Top of the World CD, a sticker, a magnet, a lighter, and a beer cozy. That's one way you can win. The next way you can win, I just put it in the chat room, send that tweet. I want to get at Slightly Stupid with at Herb Thrasher and at Radical Russ on at 420radio.org. With a link there, and at Smart Approaches. Send that tweet out, and we will pick from all the people who tweeted that with the secret code, Smart Approaches. We'll pick a random winner from those tweets, or you can put it on Facebook. Share it on Facebook, same thing. We'll pick random winner from the combined Twitter and Facebook. We'll pick one of the random winners there. The third way you can win is to sign up for a VIP membership today on 420radio.org. Of all the people who signed up between yesterday and today, we'll pick one random winner from that group. So get it done. There's also a post on the 420radio.org blogs that explains all of this if you didn't catch this all the first time I said it. All right, so we got the contest out of the way. Herb, you're going out to the show, aren't you?
We are going to go to the show on Sunday, and we're going to interview someone from the band or a couple members from the band. And we're going to be able to photograph and get some cool pictures and stuff. And then in a couple weeks, we'll bring that back to you on Herb Thrasher Flower Hour one night, and we'll definitely let you know when. And we'll air that and let you guys know how it all went and what these guys are up to. Because they've also announced a spring tour that starts March 6th. And so they've got just a lot of stuff going on. This album that we're talking about right now that is included in this prize pack, Top of the World, it debuted on Billboard's independent albums at number 3. It entered the Billboard 200 at number 13, and that's a career high. You know, these guys are this is all career high stuff. And then on the alternative albums chart, its final position is number 4. So these guys are totally on top of their game right now, and they're totally rocking out. The video that you're about to see, Top of the World, special appearance by Tommy Chong in there.
Cool.
And just the sound is just a mix of blend of just all kinds of kind of reggae and rock, got a lot of blues, some hip hop and punk, and these guys have just changed through the years. There's guests on this album. G-Love, you guys might have heard of him, and Angelo Moore from Fishbone is on there. Carl Denson is on there, and Barrington Levy. So just a lot of good stuff. So you guys tune in tonight. We'll play 3-4 songs from Slightly Stupid, talk a little bit more about it, and definitely announce some winners to receive these prize packs. So appreciate you guys supporting 420 Radio, and turn it up, folks. Yo!
All right, here we go. This is Slightly Stupid with Top of the World right here on 420radio.org.
So when the music's stopping, there's no more knocking or kicking down my door. Ain't no need for changing or rearranging the life we have endured. All these foolish ways with these hopeless traits keep you coming back for more. By the time you hear it, it's over, it's over. I really must have lost my mind. Wasn't me, it wasn't hard to find. 6 strings on my back, always looking for the next track. Thinking about the old good, always something no good. When you gonna realize that we're living like we hypnotized by the sound that you hear when the music's over. Time's running out, can't you see it for you? When you're down and out, nobody open their mouth, no one ever come around your way. When you on top of the world, every man and every girl wanna come and get some for free. When you're sitting on the corner, no one ever gonna pick you in their mind that day. When you're sitting outside getting colder. Not long ago when you wasn't that old, now look at you as old and gray. Like a piece of your mind that was stolen in time, never listen what nobody says. The reason every day is not a holiday, because the government, they steal your pay.
was a dream, but it's already over. On some monkey side of me, I'm alive, but I can't feel. Cannot tell what's reality. Cannot tell what is and isn't real. When you're down and out, nobody open their mouth, no one ever come around your way. When you're on top of the world, every man and every girl wanna come and get some for free. When you're sitting on the corner, no one ever gonna pick you in the mind that day. When you're sitting outside getting colder.
You still don't get it, do you? Alright, let me make this as clear as I possibly can. This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Man, is that the reefer man?
That's the reefer man.
I believe he's losing his mind.
I think he's lost his mind.
This is a Russ Belville Show news alert. Whatever you do, don't smoke pot. You don't want to turn out to be a loser, like Olympian Michael Phelps, actor Jack Nicholson,
singer Miley Cyrus, rocket scientist Dr. Carl Sagan, pop star Rihanna, actress Cameron Diaz, country legend Willie Nelson, President Barack Obama, Cy Young pitcher Tim Lincecum.
Have you ever met that funny reefer man? Have you ever met that funny reefer man? If he says he swam to China and sell you South Carolina, then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
And over 100 million other Americans.
Have you ever met funny reefer man? If he says he walks the ocean anytime he takes notion, then you know you're talking to the reefer man.
The world of entertainment includes many actors, musicians, athletes, and celebrities who find their way into the world of weed. The Russ Belville Show catches you up with the latest with Steve Bloom and the CelebStoner.com Entertainment Report.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're joined on the telephone from New York City by Steve Bloom, the head webmaster there at CelebStoner.com. How you doing, Steve?
How are you?
I'm doing great, man, and nice to talk to you again. It's been a long time since we've got a chance to chat, but since we've been apart, there's been all sorts of celebrity stuff going on as far as marijuana between, Rihanna and Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber. Can you give us the latest updates?
Well, I mean, that's kind of old news. I mean, Miley Cyrus was last year's news. This year's news, I guess, would be Bieber, although it happened towards the end of the year where he was seen with a joint or a blunt. I think he's trying to be a little cooler. He's also 18 now. He's hanging out with like a hip-hop crowd, and they're all smoking blunts, and so, why not join the party? So that was kind of big because Miley Cyrus was seen with a bong on her 18th birthday, and, of course, Michael Phelps was seen with a bong. It's that type of revelation where somebody within their organization took the photo, a friend, and leaked it. But, no big complaints. Bieber didn't make a big stink out of it, and he didn't have to apologize like Michael Phelps did.
Yeah, it seems to be the reaction now, the public relations parade they usually have to do after a marijuana either arrest or, a sighting like that has lessened somewhat. It used to be they had to go through this big public mea culpa, and now it doesn't seem to be so much the case.
Well, I'll also say that, the celebrity drug arrests were down last year. We chronicled that on the website, and in 2011, there were 66 total celebrity drug arrests, and this last year there were 43. So a big drop, 23. So, which is not to say that's okay, but I guess it goes along with, the decline in arrests most places in the country except for New York City.
Yeah, really. And what about on the sports angle? I just saw there was a couple of, like a cornerback on one of these teams, the college teams that's going to get ready for the our pigskin potheads NFL team. What about the sports bus? Have they gone up or down?
Well, the NFL is still, the leading, league for marijuana and drug busts by far, and also college football as well. It must be something to do with the sport to begin with, and we could sort of talk about that if you'd like, but also the nature there's so many players on each squad. So, just by the sheer numbers, you're going to have some guys who are going to get caught up. But by far, football, more than baseball, basketball, any other major sport, in National Football League and college football, this particular one I'm referring to is a guy named A.J. Barker, who left the Minnesota team last year, was supposed to go to Houston. He got busted on marijuana charge a couple of days ago. Just sort of a routine, typical bust of somebody in a car being searched and being found with some marijuana. But in this case, here's a star athlete who had a problem with the program, was kind of in between programs. He's actually the first celebrity marijuana bust of 2012 or 2013, excuse me.
All right. Now, we could talk about this football just a little bit because, of course, Super Bowl's coming up. We got the championship games happening this weekend. Both the legal marijuana state teams are out. Seattle Seahawks and Denver Broncos are out. But there's also a feature article in High Times Magazine about pot use and the NFL. And given what we know about, marijuana's ability to protect, brain tissues, it should be something that they would turn to naturally.
I think it's medical marijuana for the players by far. They get pretty beat up and, they need a little pain relief after a game. Now, I'm not so sure they're really doing that because, drug testing and all of that, so they probably have to be careful. A lot of what happens with most athletes is they claim they smoke in the off season. That's where it's not affecting their play. They can't be charged with performance enhancement if marijuana does do that. So they tend to sort of lay low. College kids sometimes don't know better, and also they're in that environment, everybody's smoking, so why not us? So I think they just get caught up in it. Why can't we do what everybody else does, drive around in the car and smoke a little bit, or go to the, fraternity and smoke, or your dorm room and smoke? And, most of the times they don't get caught, but every so often they do. But in football, there's no question there's an increased use, and perhaps it's some form of enhancement or pain, relief.
Yeah, there also seems to be an increased willingness of celebrities to talk about marijuana in very frank terms. I saw some interviews with Seth Rogen as he was promoting that movie with Barbra Streisand. I saw David Letterman talking to him, asking a lot of detailed questions about primo weed. This is just a huge sea change in how these celebrities are speaking about the issue. What have you noticed?
Well, that was a great interview. You can always count on Seth Rogen, saying something about marijuana, usually funny. And I think since the election, since November, the door is swung wide open for more and more comments and jokes about marijuana among celebrities. They're just going to pop up because now it's sort of a little more acceptable. We've crossed this threshold. We're heading in a new direction, as far as legalization in America with the 2 states. It's going to grow from there. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a federal change, in the next 4 years. We can dream. So I think it's just more of an open field right now to discuss marijuana. And, guys, if they're in the media and they're in doing the rounds, like Seth Rogen was, even though that movie has nothing to do with marijuana, they're going to ask them the questions, kind of like Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson always get. Certain celebrities are always going to get asked marijuana questions because they've already made statements. And Seth Rogen is not as well known for marijuana, perhaps, as Tommy Chong, but he's of the younger generation, and especially the last couple of movies, he hasn't really been doing the marijuana thing, so you think he's less associated with it. Well, it's just not in his movies. But in his personal life, it's something he does and believes in. So given the opportunity on those shows, and plus given the chance to ask the question, what's the best marijuana, he's going to say, well, it's got to be Vancouver because he's from Canada. So he's great. I mean, I love Rogen, a great actor, a great champion of our cause. We need more guys like him.
All right. Now, one of the things you're covering at CelebStoner as well, there's celebrity that everyone knows, and then there's celebrity within our own movement. And there's been a disturbing story about one of the most read bloggers and journalists in the cannabis community, Steve Elliott of Toke of the Town. We reported on Monday how he'd been arrested on a 4th-degree assault charge. I'm wondering if you can give us any updates on what's happening in that case.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I don't know Steve Elliott personally. I know of him. I know of his work. He started Toke to Town about 3 years ago. It's been a very successful blog. It probably gets the best traffic of all the marijuana blogs out there. That's due to his hard work. The guy blogs a lot. He posts a lot. He does a lot of social networking. He's everywhere, and he's built a really good brand. His name has come up many times in the way he sometimes reacts to fellow commenters or readers on his site. He tends to be obscene, and I've noticed that, and I've been a little concerned about his behavior, his online behavior at times. I didn't really know too much more about him until this incident happened. What happened was, allegedly, is that he is in a breakup from his marriage, and he's had a series of affairs, and the latest woman that he's been with is someone who moved into his apartment back in December, and who knows what's going on between them, but they had an incident this past Monday where she claims that he shoved her during an argument, and then she closed the door, locked the door, and this is, by the way, she told me this personally, and she called 911, and then Elliot broke the door down and then pinned her on the bed and threatened her, but the call had already been made. So they called back because the call stopped, and then they called back because they call back when there's a problem like this happens. And then, police came and, they did whatever they're supposed to do in terms of separating them, and then they took him in and arrested him. So, I have to say that, if Steve Elliott was arrested for marijuana, we might report it, but it's not a question of his character. All of us may have been arrested for marijuana at some point, but if you get arrested for a domestic violence charge, it's something that, maybe, you should look into. Here's an important player in our community who is not getting along with women very well, perhaps, and it reflects poorly, I think, on our community. So a lot of people have questioned why I've dug into this, but that's really the reason. This is not trying to get Steve Elliott or gossip mongering. It's just the reality of who he is and the problems that he has, and maybe this is why we see him the way we see him sometimes, and the way he treats other people on the web, very rudely and cursing and so on and so forth. This is probably his general behavior. Now, that's not against the law, but it's poor behavior, in our community, and it's something that should be looked into. And now when he treats somebody like this, if it's true that he harms somebody, then that's a whole other thing. And furthermore, he has been arrested in the past. I did not know that, but he spent a year in jail for an assault arrest where he got involved in a fight with some younger gang members, I'm told, in Los Angeles in 2005, and actually defended himself or started a fight. Who knows? I don't know the details of this, but he used a bottle and harmed a younger person, a 17-year-old, and he was charged with this offense and went to jail for a year. That's pretty serious. So, again, if some people think it's all gossip, I don't. I think this is important. We need to know what's going on here with this guy. And, right now he's out of jail. He made bail. He stayed in jail for a couple of days. And now he hasn't been back at his home because the woman, Maggie Slight, is still staying there. There's been a lot of concern about that. I've been reading on his Facebook page that she should leave and so on and so forth. And he's living in a motel right now. And, perhaps he's away from his computer center where he can do his blogging and stuff. So he really hasn't been up and blogging except he's on Facebook. And you can see a lot of comments. And he posted on CelebStoner. And so, he's out there. He's back sort of defending himself. I guess when there's a trial, it'll come out and we'll find out really what happened. But right now, it's a he said, she said, and I'm just doing what I consider due diligence to get the facts out there.
Well, it's a tough thing when we're talking about people that are in our own movement and how things should be represented and how we want to appear, especially when we already start with a deficit of public trust in a lot of ways. I kind of had to ask the question in reporting it myself if Wolf Blitzer were picked up on an assault charge, would Brian Williams mention it on the news? I think it might get coverage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Steve, before we let you go, I want to make sure, we got a brand new year, all sorts of new plans probably for CelebStoner and the events that are happening. Can you give us, you got new books coming out? Anything you'd like to promote?
Actually, pretty quiet on the book front. I still have my books out, Pot Culture and Reefer Movie Madness. I appreciate it. People check them out. I've been laying a little low in the traveling. I'm looking forward to the 420 season. I see High Times has announced a actual cannabis cup that's not medical related for Colorado on 420, 421. Maybe I'll have to get out there for that. So happy to hear my friends at High Times are making that move. I hope, by the way, that it's legal for them to do what they're planning to do, because you really can't technically grow in Colorado yet, but maybe they're jumping the gun. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll be doing something. I don't know. Normal had announced they were going to have a big 420 march in Washington at the Normal conference, but I haven't heard anything about that yet. So I'm sort of waiting on the big 420 plans.
Yeah, the Cannabis Cup in Denver is going to be at the XDO Center. It's a great event center there, and we will be there as well, streaming live. So we hope to see you there.
All right, Russ. Well, thanks a lot.
Right on. Steve Bloom from CelebStoner.com, your number one source for celebrity, cannabis, community information, and news. Check it out at CelebStoner.com. Don't forget to pick up his books. We got the Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life, and Reefer Movie Madness, all about the movies we've come to know and love in the cannabis community. We're going to take a short little break, and when we come back, time for a radical rant. Stick around. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
My name's Diane Goldstein. I'm a retired lieutenant from Redondo Beach Police Department in Southern California. I'm married. I have a son. I got into law enforcement for a lot of different reasons. One of it is because family was very important to me. I had a brother, starting at the age of 11, had a drug addiction problem, and although he was older than me, I was always my brother's keeper. That played a large part of wanting to not only help my family specifically, but my community in general. But what I saw is from 1983 to 2004, the ramp up in the war on drugs, the overcriminalization of America, period, has changed the relationship that cops have with their communities. We no longer have relationships with them. We come in, we police them, and we leave. My older brother, Billy, he got pulled over by an agency in Orange County, and he had a pocket knife on him that they said was illegal. He calls me up from jail, and he says, I'm in jail, got arrested, cops went into the hotel room, they found heroin, and that started this couple-month quick decline and ultimately led to his death at age 44. Why are we putting people who have a medical issue away in jail? It really started making me look at what is wrong with our system. Not everybody is a horrible bad guy. We need to change how we treat all offenders. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Eliminate mandatory minimums. Divert kids out of the system at the first opportunity. Fund more prevention programs for juvenile offenders. I want to try to make certain that what happened to our family doesn't happen to other people's families. We have to give everybody more than one chance in life.
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical rant.
What happens when you give pot smokers 580 milligrams of pure THC over 6 days? Not much. By now you've heard the warnings. This is not your father's Woodstock weed. Today's marijuana is twice or triple or 40 times stronger than the weed of our parents in the 60s and 70s. It's so much more potent now that rehabs are overflowing with marijuana addicts that drug courts put there for the clearly addictive behavior of getting caught. You've also probably heard about this medical marijuana. You know, that non-toxic herb with low risk of side effects and the lowest chance of addiction with the mildest symptoms of withdrawal among the top 3 recreational drugs. And how dangerous it would be to allow sick people to use it because, you know, it hasn't been subjected to the approval of the same government agency that declared Vioxx safe for human use. It's funny to me because all those scares about hyper-potent super skunk seem to evaporate once THC crosses over from natural plant to patentable pill. For years, we've had Marinol. It's a synthetic 100% THC pill. It comes in 2.5 milligram, 5 milligram, 10 milligram, and 20 milligram active doses. It was originally released as a Schedule II drug, as dangerous and possibly abused as cocaine and methamphetamine. After years of safe medical use, it was rescheduled to a safer designation, something that rarely happens, down to Schedule III, the realm of drugs like Ambien and certain steroids. This despite the fact that THC is the psychoactive part of marijuana that gets you high, and the Marinol pill lacks the plant CBD, or cannabidiol, that is an antipsychotic that moderates the effects of THC. In essence, the government has declared that the drug that gets you way higher than the plant is somehow safer because molecules in pill form are magic. So now comes to me this study. It's called Tolerance to Effects of High-Dose Oral Delta-9 Tetrahydrocannabinol and Plasma Cannabinoid Concentrations in Male Daily Cannabis Smokers. And it was published this last October in the Journal of Analytical Toxicology. So, as I give you some of the particulars of this study, keep in mind that our government won't let doctors and researchers do these kind of things with natural marijuana because it's too doggone dangerous. Let me read from the study. The development of tolerance to effects of around-the-clock oral synthetic delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, 20 milligrams every 3.5 to 6 hours, was evaluated in 13 healthy male daily cannabis smokers residing on a secure research unit, 40 milligrams on day 1, 100 milligrams on days 2 through 4, 120 milligrams on days 5 through 6. Typical dronabinol doses in the United States range from 2.5 to 40 milligrams daily. Now, folks, a strong Marinol dose is the 10 milligram pill taken 4 times a day. That's that 40 milligrams daily they're talking about. I've taken one, just once. And as a pot smoker of 22 years, consuming world-class marijuana in the Pacific Northwest, I have never had a more paranoid, panic attack, depressed, disoriented high in my life. Most doctors will start a patient on the 2.5 milligram dose or the 5 milligram dose. So, let's see what happens when we start 13 pot smokers on a strong dose, then work them up to triple that in 6 days. Let's just see what happens. In experienced male cannabis smokers, daily oral THC doses, 10 to 30 milligrams every 4 hours, escalating to 210 milligrams a day over 3 to 5 days, produced tolerance to the acute subjective effects of a single oral THC dose after 11 to 16 days after dosing, and to the acute heart rate and blood pressure effects after 9 to 12 days of dosing. In a later study by the same investigators, the intensity of acute subjective effects from a single 30 milligram oral THC challenge dose diminished 50% after 4 days of 60 to 80 milligrams daily, and 60 to 80% after 10 days of 60 to 80 milligrams daily. Later studies showed tolerance to the subjective effects of oral THC developing after 80 to 120 milligrams daily for 4 days. All right, a lot of numbers there. Let's just get to the point of what they're saying. You're telling us that people who take anywhere from 6 to 21 100% THC 10 milligram Marinol pills a day develop tolerance to the effects of THC. But pot smokers who smoke 15 to 25% marijuana the night before might be too impaired to drive the next morning? For inclusion, participants were required to be 18 to 45 years old, to have smoked cannabis for at least the prior year, and averaging daily use for at least 3 months before admission, to have used cannabis within 24 hours of admission. And, of course, not currently be in jail, prison, probation, or rehab for getting caught smoking pot. All right, so that's our setup. Let's find out. We pumped these guys full of Marinol. How high did these guys get? Well, it's kind of interesting. I've got a table here, and I'll publish this. It's up on my blog at radicalruss.com. The table of the actual results, day 1, day 2, day 4, day 6. And it's kind of interesting. On day 1, after these guys went about 18 hours without smoking pot, so they could get a baseline, right? Then you had them make a mark on a scale where the left edge of the scale is not at all with respect to the feelings of good drug effect, high, sedated, stoned, and stimulated. Now, on the right side of the scale is the most ever, and it's 10 centimeters away. That's about 4 inches away, right? So not at all to highest I've ever been, a 4-inch gap. And then you made a mark down in between how close they were to either not at all or to the most they've ever been. So it's kind of like a scale from 1 to 100, except you erase all the numbers in between 1 and 100, and instead you just measure how many millimeters they get from not at all. So what happened? On day 1, after they'd gone without pot most of the day, all the subjective measures of the drug effect were within 1 to 4 millimeters of not at all. Okay, so they'd gone without pot for 18 hours. They're not at all high, or stoned, or sedated, or good drug effect, or stimulated. Unsurprisingly, after day 2, when they'd been given the equivalent of 6 strong Marinol pills, they were quite high, but not even past the halfway mark of 50 millimeters toward most ever. But then on day 4, after totaling 26 pills worth of THC ingestion, they were roughly 1/3 to 1/2 as high. And by day 6, after a whopping 48 strong Marinol doses, they were the least high they had been since beginning the study. Now, here's another interesting observation from the study. The blood pressure of these men dropped from an average of 129/75 to an average of 120/61. Remember that the next time you're warned about the heart dangers of smoking pot. Here's some more from the study. This study found that substantial tolerance to the subjective intoxicating effects of oral THC developed after exposure to a total dose of 260 milligrams over 4 days. This is consistent with most, but not all, prior human studies. The one study that did not observe tolerance, administered by oral THC doses of 40 milligrams daily for 2 weeks, lower than those in other studies that showed tolerance, including by the same investigators. That study involved HIV-positive subjects, but it is not known whether HIV status influences tolerance and dependence. Thank you, science. You're basically saying every study that's ever been done on people taking poppin' Marinol pills like they were jelly beans shows they develop tolerance to its effects. So now, while we've got these 13 pot smokers in a lab pumped full of 100% pure THC pills, do me a favor, could you measure how many nanograms of active THC per milliliter of blood these guys have in their system? What's that? You only measured THC in blood plasma. That's okay, because you only need to divide by 2 to get what the result would be for whole blood, so lay it on us. Well, here it is. Got a little chart, and we'll post this up at RadicalRuss.com, but it's very, very interesting. Here we have 13 pot smokers who smoked cannabis for at least the prior year and averaging daily use for at least 3 months and smoked 24 hours before admission. Yet on day 1, after 15 to 18 hours of not smoking pot, they're testing at 3 to 4 nanograms per milliliter. And that's in plasma, so in blood it would be about a 1.5 to 2 reading. On day 2, after they've had 6 Marinol pills, they wake up at 4.5 to 5 nanograms in blood. On day 3, they're around 5 to 6 nanograms in the morning, and on day 4 in the morning, after 26 Marinol pills, they're around 6 to 7 nanograms. But interestingly enough, on day 5, the morning rates are down to around 3 nanograms, and on day 6, after the equivalent of 48 Marinol pills, they're around 4 nanograms per milliliter, waking up in the morning. Now that's a lot to digest, and what it means is up to debate. I mean, we're talking about oral ingestion of THC pills. Eating THC metabolizes differently than inhaling THC. And medical marijuana has psychoactivity moderating CBDs that Marinol pills don't have. However, we're also talking about gargantuan, frequent doses of 100% THC that seem to lead to a developing tolerance to its effects, despite the increasing levels of THC in the blood plasma after administration. I mean, day 3 spikes at 20, day 5 spikes at 30. That would be like 10 or 15 in blood. So why again are we considering users of inhaled 15% to 25% potent marijuana smoke to be too impaired to drive at 5 nanograms? Especially when the drug interaction warnings on a 10 nanogram Marinol pill bottle say, patients receiving Marinol capsules should be specifically warned not to drive, operate machinery, or engage in any hazardous activity until it is established that they are able to tolerate the drug and to perform such tasks safely. Oh yeah, I forgot. When molecules are in a patentable, profitable pill form, they are magic.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
That's all the time I got this week. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with more news and interviews you can use for the cannabis community. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Stay tuned for Hour 2. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
You roll it, you try it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.